And I edit everything. If you've ever heard any of my other episodes, that's kind of how this all starts. And
Yes.
I think I'm going to put one in between us since we're not releasing this until the 29th. So you will be episode 130.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good
that feels
number.
really good. It is.
Good. Okay. So with that, I'll do the countdown and we'll be ready to go. 3, 2, 1. Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 130 of Circle Up and Get Real, where we talk about things that matter with people who matter. And today, my guest is the fabulous Gina Powers, who I have been thinking, Gina, about you, and I can't remember how we first connected because it feels like I've just known you for a long time. And do you remember?
I do. I was actually thinking about that this morning, and it was funny because I was making my bed and thinking about how important a routine that is to starting your day. And then I recalled we met when I was working at the YWCA shelter with women and children, and you were doing some consulting under the box office.
Wow.
And it was all of those years ago. Gosh, that is a very long time ago.
It is. Well, and it's funny. We've intersected in other ways since then. And so it's funny how when you think back on any of our lives, anybody who's listening to this, there are probably a lot of people that have come and gone, and then some that come and stay.
Yes.
And Gina, you're one of those for me. So I want to introduce you to Gina. Gina is originally from San Francisco, California, which I did not know until I read your bio just now. And in 1985, after much travel, Gina completed her basic education and planted roots in Fargo, which I'm fascinated about. How did you end up in Fargo from San Francisco?
Honestly, it was just a childhood thing. I had a complex childhood, and so I came up here and stayed with relatives and attended North High School.
Okay. All right. So
Yeah.
that's always a fascinating way that people get together with our city and our people. Gina's vocal and musical talents were recognized early on, and at age 12, her father showed her a few chords, and she began to play guitar, write songs, and had even begun appearing as a singer with the Buddy Wright Band in Lake Tahoe, Nevada, as a child. That is amazing. Gina grew her musical skills, gained experience from a variety of sources, including professional musicians, choral directors, formal study of vocal and choral music at Morehead State, which I call Morehead State, which is now Minnesota State University, Morehead, and practice. So after being with the United States Coast Guard and working as an advocate for Child and Human Services, in 2015, Gina decided to pursue her musical endeavors full-time and formed the Gina Powers Band, which I've had the pleasure of listening to several times in our community. So all of that, Gina, there's more, there's a ton more, but I'm so excited to be with you today because you've got some new stuff coming too. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Jody. It's always great to have a conversation with you. So thanks for inviting me on.
It is completely my pleasure. It's funny that you say to have a conversation because it seems these days we're getting really good at debate and not so great at dialogue, which is what I call suspending previous assumptions in order to learn from each other. And that's what I hope we can do here on this podcast. And I know I've been learning a ton from the people I've had on as guests, and I'm sure today will be no exception, Gina. So there's a lot to talk about. You've had quite the journey in the years I've known you.
I have indeed, yes. And we all do. We all have a journey, right? But I think mine has seemed to have had a tad more fits and starts than your average bear.
Yeah, well, you kind of alluded to having an interesting childhood that brought you to Fargo. I don't know if that's something you'd like to tell us more about.
Well, sure. I think it's important just that my mom passed when I was 11 after an extended battle with melanoma, unfortunately, very young, only 35 when she passed away. And she gave a real hard fight. And so it was a real struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And who would blame her at that age,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So that led to a series of just very interesting, both, I guess we'll say traumas and then opportunities as well. And so it's always a mixed bag, right? And so I did go to live with my biological father, which was not my wish, nor was it my mother's and my stepfather's wish. My stepfather, in fact, raised me. But at that time in the early 80s, that's what happened, is the court would send you with your biological parent. And so although there was a legal fight, I went from, at that time, Anchorage to Lake Tahoe, Nevada. And so I lived in a grand home. I truly did. And where I had a tremendous and deep hole in my heart, because I had lost my mother and my family, essentially. My biological father was not, however, a complete stranger to me. And I did have a sense of comfort in the home that I went to. It was in the mountains and in the Sierra Nevadas. And I had a lot of great experiences there, but I was also exposed to a lot of things that perhaps are not the best things to expose a young girl, especially one that is grieving, to. And so during that time, there was a lot of music, just so much music. Tahoe in the 80s was the place to be. I'm not even going to lie to you about that. And we had a very grand home. And being from the Bay Area originally, Tahoe was kind of developed as a getaway for socialites in San Francisco, wealthier socialites. And so it was definitely a place that people came to have a good time. And being from the Bay Area originally, of course, my father and had many friends that would come to visit, and they would bring music, they would bring records, they would listen to records. And we had milk crate after apple crate of record albums. And I would basically live inside of those headphones. And I do mean it, because I almost feel like you can create a tangible, safe space inside of a piece of music. You can preserve an emotion, you can experience emotion more deeply. And at that time, I definitely wanted to wallow. And so there was a lot of Joni Mitchell and Joan Baez and Bob Dylan going on. But then there was also Rod Stewart and the Allman Brothers and Jefferson Starship and Airplane, and just all of these other very great, Billie Holiday, just all of the foundational artists, Barbra Streisand, A Star Is Born, the original album, all those things. And so I hid in music, and so I did that in Tahoe. I ended up also having the opportunity during that time to live on Maui, attended school there for a time in 7th grade. I lived again in San Francisco as well. And I lived in Sun Valley, Ketchum, Idaho. In fact, I lived in the same house that Ernest Hemingway stayed in when he lived in Ketchum. There's a little wall. And I remember thinking it was great. And I wish that I could remember it, because it was just a very short poem, but it described the location. And all I remember is the line that said, near a dam in the woods. And I cannot remember the rest of it. And I wish I could, because who else? And it's not a published poem. It was just in a frame typed by Mr. Hemingway himself and hung on the wall, like along with the different photos and things you hang in a family. It was that ordinary for them. And so they're a very neat family, the family that I got to know when I was there. So I had a lot of all these crazy experiences during that time. And I was very emo, I guess, to put it that way. I was an artist, definitely sensitive. I was writing a lot of poetry, and I was, and my dad taught me at the early part of this adventure with him, 3 chords. Pop the Magic Dragon was the song. And then he taught me A minor and a slide, and that became Horses No Name. And I learned those 2 songs. And from there, I just started to play guitar. But my love for music has never been in the guitar. God bless those that make the guitar sound amazing. I don't see myself as a guitarist by any means. I'm a singer. I'm a singer and I'm a writer at heart. And so that is my first love, is singing and writing. And that's what I love to do. And I'm so fortunate that I get to do it. So that's what I mean by out of a very difficult situation, I was able to experience some pretty deep depths and of emotion, both highs and lows. And I think, it made a big impression on me. And I did end up on my own early. I ended up being on the street at 14, and I ended up, that's how I ended up here, is because I needed a place to be. And there was an aunt here that happened to, to have little kids and want some help with childcare. And so up I came, and I attended North High, and that's where I made home. Fargo just embraced me, and it became home.
Oh, wow. I love how you wove that story of your life poetically and even musically without using music. That's a true artist that can do that with a biography. And I love that you did that, Gina, and how it all worked together. It sounds like there were difficulties. You said there were highs, there were lows, but as a poet at heart, a writer at heart, perhaps it was your destiny, that brought you here. I think and this may or may not make the cut of the podcast, but it feels to me like when a soul is born into a body, there are ways to honor that, and then there are ways to ignore that. So what weird thing brought you to the parents you had at the time you had the experience of that, and that your mother had an impression on you, but it was so short? And you said she fought the good fight, left you with this hole in your heart that you're filling with music and giving to the people around you. It doesn't feel like an accident to me.
It doesn't. And I cannot tell you that the depth of tingles I am getting from my head to my toes right now. It does. And I can almost get a little bit tearful and emotional about it, because it feels like a spiritual journey. And I think that the logical part of me wants, and the scientific part of me wants to say that's because humans make meaning, and we have that desire to make meaning of those things that are especially challenging, or the heightened emotions. They need to mean something to us. That's part of our human condition, right? But then there's that spiritual part of me that says, nah, no, it's something way bigger than that. It is meaning. It is meaning.
And meaningful.
And meaningful and important. And important. It matters to the fabric of everybody's experience. Yours and my encounter, 20 years ago or whatever that was, leads us to a conversation all these years later. That's neat. I think that's part that must mean on some level we are members of each other's spiritual tribe on a level, and we're meant to somehow navigate this experience called human together, in support of each other. I guess I do. I have that fundamental belief that we are here to be in relationship with each other, with the divine source of creation, and the resources that are available to us to sustain life. I really do think that, to me, is my Holy Trinity.
Yeah, that's so brilliant. As you're talking about this, and you're talking about there being a spiritual dimension to this, I always find it really interesting when people say things like, I can't do that, I'm only human. And I think that's a lie. We are never only human. We are created in an image that was greater than any of us humanly. It may be a percentage, but we're still a percentage spiritual being. And so when we say I'm only human, that's just not true. And if we could connect more with that spiritual dimension of us, and that place of all of us that has the opportunity to collaborate and connect, instead of just colliding and going away from each other, I think there's a whole opportunity. And I love music too, maybe not like you do. I'm not a creator of music like you are, but I think music, you're right, just does something on some sort of spiritual level to bring people to a place, like you said, with the headphones on, when you can create your own environment and you can escape maybe, but you can also create from that place.
Yes, indeed. And well said. In fact, I remember an encounter I had with you once at I think it was like a big women's fair at the Civic Center many years ago. And you were singing and you came up to me and you and I started singing together. That was so fun. And I remember at that time being quite shy about it and thinking how awesome it was that you were so remarkably bold. And what an amazing voice you have too. You are quite the musician in your own right, Jody. So that was fun.
So here we are in the Mutual Admiration Society as we're talking about
right.
real. But this is, Gina, this is kind of what I anticipate the world can benefit from when people step into that space of being real for themselves, because the interactions that they can have, certainly in person, are amazing. Yet, if we disparage what's been happening over the world the last couple of years by saying I'm Zoom fatigued and I have no opportunity to be with people. For those of you who are listening to this as a podcast, we are doing this virtually using Zoom, even though we live in the same community, because it's an opportunity to maybe demonstrate that connections like this, energetic connections, do not have geography restricting them or enhancing them in some cases. So it completely can be possible that spiritually, energetically, scientifically, we have the opportunity to get on the literally get on the same wavelength.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I think it's what you make of it as well. And to say that meeting on Zoom is the same as meeting in person, no, it's not. It's different. But it is another tool for us to remain connected. And, at times it can be even more efficient. It's much, and let's also think about the fact that we don't have to get in our cars and drive anywhere. You know what I mean? There's just some benefits to it. Everything is a balance, right? There's a little give, there's a little take, there's a little all of that. Yeah. And yeah.
So this is a fun conversation. This is how conversations go on the Get Real Circle and in our Circle Up and Get Real podcast. And I would love to continue just going down this rabbit trail. However, we have some really interesting news and exciting news to share with the world. Now, Gina has been working as a human services advocate, working with women and children. She's been performing in churches and variety of bands because of her love of music, solo and private appearances. Gina, I think I already mentioned this, in 2015, you were able to now pursue this full time. We connected again in a networking opportunity that I had presented to the city, and you came on as a member and shared your talent with our group as you were looking for opportunities to share your band with organizations. I've heard you live at different places in Fargo, which is great. I'm guessing it's got to be fun. You continue to write and do all these things. However, there's a big announcement coming today when this is going to be released. Please tell me.
It's very exciting. So I had this pull to go to Nashville. You'd think that a singer-songwriter would have gone a long time ago, but I guess the timing wasn't right. The timing finally became right, thanks to a connection I had through a former student who then turned into a guitar player for my band. And when he moved to Nashville, that gave me a door of comfort. So I went down. I sang an open mic. They showed me how. My friends down there from Fargo, from this area, this region, Fargo, Moorhead, Minnesota, our area, this little contingent. And they showed me how to get in. And I went and I sung my one song. And in the open mic, there's only 3 slots each night. So it's a big deal. It felt like a big deal. And that got me invited back for a showcase night, which meant I got to sing 3 songs. And so I sung my 3 songs, and I happened to sing them in front of the right person at the right time. And I was offered a label, a record deal. Essentially, I was offered a record deal, and so it's yeah.
You didn't see that, but I just did a big wow on the video. I'm so excited for you.
It I'm a little older than average, but then again, I don't think I've ever followed the rules about when you do what you're supposed to do and how. And I kind of laugh and I say this tongue in cheek, but in a way too, one of the losing my mother was the biggest, most terrible thing that ever happened. At the same time, had she been here, I don't know what my life trajectory would have looked like. And so I would have followed the rules in different ways that I did not now. And so the long and short of it is, right. So I am, going to be 52 later this year, and I'm just now getting a record deal. But weirdly, I got it like on my first time, it's pretty crazy that it turned out that way. But Jody, the neatest part of the story isn't just that the record deal. The neatest part of the story is that I was in conversation with Jerry Foster, the National Country Music Hall of Fame member that has signed me. I mean, this guy is amazing. He wrote That's All Right, Mama. He co-wrote with Bill Rice for many years. Still to this day, this gentleman is the most highly awarded ASCAP songwriting team, right? Part of that team. And he liked what I did, which blows me away. But let me just say this. I'm in conversation with him. Now, I talked to you about my father and mentioned that, okay, well, one of the struggles my father had, and one of the reasons I was exposed to think maybe I ought not be, is because he did have some significant addiction issues. He was also, though, one of the most brilliant businessmen around. And I've been told that to this day. My father died like 12 years ago. I still get told this by people that I encountered him in business, that he was one of the most brilliant businessmen they knew. Well, he had moved with another wife down to San Diego, my stepmother, Carolyn. And he had lived there for a substantial period of time. And one of the things that had happened during that time is he had worked with a dentist. He had worked with him on an invention that he had done for these amazing implants. And so he's in San Diego, right? Well, here I am having a conversation with this gentleman who's just signed me. And we're having a conversation about the things in life that hurt, basically, the kinds of things that drive people to deep and dark places, because that's part of songwriting, is exploring those things, right? Or writing of any kind, I think. He tells a very tragic story, and my heart just goes out to the family, but of his dentist's son, who unfortunately died due to depression in San Diego after an extremely traumatic breakup. And I stopped and I said, Jerry, who's your dentist? It was the same dentist. It was the same dentist.
Why am I not surprised?
So when we talk about the idea that things are, I've heard it may seem even a little bit cliche at this time because it gets used often, but I think there's truth to that. What is meant for you will not be kept from you. And it took a while, but I finally got there at the right time. And I'm just so blessed to have been led there, to have listened to the call that was calling me there, and to have friends that supported me and let me crash on their couch and all of that. And so, yeah, life is good. Yeah.
So what does that mean for you now? You have a record label in Nashville. What does that mean? What's the next step? What happens now?
Well, the next step will be just basically, I've already done some of the work to put the album together, some of the songs that I've already released and some of the, or that I've already written rather. And then some of the songs that I'm singing that have been written by Mr. Foster and Associates. And wow, I mean, wow, holy smokes. And he will, those will be assembled into a record that will be released and over time. And I don't want to overspeak in because I don't truly know exactly how that all works. This is I really am in preschool, standing outside the grade school, looking excitedly at when I get to go to kindergarten, right? So that's where I feel I am at this stage of the process. But yeah, and so there will be airplay that will begin in some test markets on all 7 continents, and I don't even know what to say about that.
People in Antarctica are going to listen to you?
People in Antarctica are going to listen to me, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess. So I find that interesting. I find that bizarre. I find it surreal. And I can't even talk about it, Jody, without it sounding like I'm either lying or bragging.
Yeah, I understand.
It sounds so no way, but yes way.
Yes way. Yes way, everybody. Yes way. What are the dreams that have been given to you, that have been planted in you, everybody listening, that you are either denying or burying or not believing in? I mean, I've got them. We all do.
We all do.
This is, Gina, you're living proof in such a humble way that, you guys, what are you not giving to the world that's yours to give? You know, your gift of your voice and your passion and your emotion and the way the music fills you and comes out through you. What's the gift that I'm not giving the world? What's the gift that the rest of us are not giving the world? I think you're such a super great example of that, Gina.
Well, you're such a tremendous communicator, Jody. I think you've been giving yourself to the world for a very, very long time. And so thank you for that. I think encouraging authenticity by modeling authenticity it's rare and it's appreciated, it's needed, it's a healing force. And never question that for you, because I do think that you give your gifts, and generously so. You know, I've never met somebody so authentically curious. And it's true. You are just genuinely curious. And you're a lover and a collector of friends and people. And I think that's a gift. And thank you for being a good example.
Well, thank you for seeing me, Gina. And it's so fun because we are mirrors for each other. Everyone is. And when you get in the space and circle and energy of your people, that is a great opportunity to be reflective and to be curious and to encourage depth. And you're right, I guess, by going first, but both of us have done that. And that's what's really fun.
It's fun and it's scary as can be too at the same time. But, you know, I do the things that frighten me, not even as much physically, more the things that scare me emotionally. Like, can I handle the full devastation that would happen if that completely blows up in my face? Probably not, but I'm going to try it anyway. But, you know, I was in the Coast Guard and, you know, that's a prime example. Of the fact that I get myself in, I get both legs and both feet. And in truth, although my stepmother, Carolyn, who I mentioned earlier, and I had a very difficult relationship when I was young, a very difficult one. I got some really neat nuggets from her. And one of those nuggets was the ability to cook out of the refrigerator when it doesn't look like there's anything to cook.
Those are life skills we need, right?
Life skills. And to throw yourself in when you see something that you can do. When there's somebody in need, when there's something you can do, throw yourself in and be in there and be of service. And she did it in some of the most bizarre and remarkable ways, but it taught me to be bold. And I think that's a positive.
Yeah, for sure. How are your kids dealing with all of this?
My 12-year-old son, he actually attends school up in Winnipeg with his father, and he's feeling pretty good about things. He's feeling pretty good. He himself is a writer, and he does a lot of rapping and poetry and prose to beat tracks and stuff that he's creating himself. So he's in the learning curve on that, but he's doing some really fun stuff. And in fact, for his birthday recently, I got him some studio time at Below Grade Studios in Moorhead, and he created a couple tracks. So that was a lot of fun. Him and a CD and all of that. So my daughter, she was born much earlier in my life. She is closer to 30. She has 2 beautiful children, grandkids. My granddaughter Genevieve just turned 7, and she saw me on TV once, and she's at that age now where she just kind of realized, and she said, "Oh, Grandma's on TV. Is she going to be on TV again?"
That's awesome.
So she was pretty excited about that. My daughter was I think she was the first call I made. It was either my daughter or my ex-husband, Jim, who I co-wrote a lot of early songs on the first album with. All of those were co-written with Jim. The second album, those were mine, but the first one I co-wrote, and I was just so overwhelmed, and I couldn't barely speak. And I think when I first encountered my daughter, she kind of looked at me as though I was an aberration. She wasn't quite sure if I was still her mom on a level, I guess. It's like, I don't know how to interact with you right now because this huge thing is happening, and I don't know, and none of us know what it means. You don't know what it means. Jody, they could play me on, all 7 continents 20 times a day, and I could still not be well received by the public. We don't know. The ride is in the ride. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? The ride is, the roller coaster is never fun when you're pulling into the station. Yeah. Because it's that click up the track is, oh God, I made a mistake. I can't believe I got on this ride. No. And then that pause at the top right before the big, oh my gosh. Yeah. The big whoosh. Well, that's kind of where I'm at. And so the first thing I did when I got this news, just even in conversation, was I got a first class ticket to Orlando to go see my god sister, and I upgraded to the BMW, and I just did it just because I just thought, I don't even know what this feels like.
Oh, that's so great. So great.
So that's what silly. I know it's silly.
No, it's not silly. It's not silly at all. It's awesome. So yeah, I know you don't know. We don't know yet. This is just, like you said, the top of the roller coaster. You're just getting to that place. And it's hard not to project, isn't it? To say, what if, when this happens?
It is. But I think right now, for me, I think the healthiest and, dare I say, safe, that's probably not the best descriptor of anything I do, but I think the best place for me to be is just right here, right now. Like, just like I was on that first, I'd never want to forget what it feels when you're in the midst of something great happening. Because the reality is, everything we encounter, like, no man steps in the same river twice, right? Like, everything we encounter is going to leave a mark on a level, and it's going to change the way we are in the world. It's going to expand our perspective, hopefully, and not close it, but it's going to expand us. It's going to give us opportunities to experience things. But why? And that's the whole humans got to make meaning thing. For me, it's really important. And so I'm just trying to be here and experience it and not be a jerk because I'm so excited, not seem like I'm bragging, or lying, and just try and remember that I'm not here because I'm special. I'm here because I'm just bold enough, I think, on a level. And I guess that is the one thing I'll say. I'm bold enough to toe my way into the calls I hear.
Mm-hmm.
And I move in that direction. And in fits and starts, as I've said, made a lot of mistakes in my life, made a lot of mistakes. In fact, I wrote a song that has the line like that. I've done a lot of things right, or a little bit right, and a lot of things wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember my own lyrics, but a little bit right and a lot of things wrong. But I know right here and now, this is where I belong. And so it is, and I don't know what any of it means. I don't know what any of it leads to. Of course, like everybody, I have big dreams, and I can imagine myself on that private jet, and I can imagine myself sitting in the audience at the Country Music Awards. And wouldn't that be amazing?
Mm-hmm.
And why not me? Why not me? I guess.
Absolutely. Right? Why not you? Why not?
Why not? Why not? Somebody has to be in the audience.
Yes.
I'll be me,
Oh, I love it.
That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing, Jody. And I'm not even at the top of that roller coaster. Like literally, I've barely been strapped in, and I'm just starting to click up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm space up. Anxiety wouldn't be a good way to describe it, but anticipation.
Yeah.
For what?
So you said earlier you've been recording songs for the album that's coming out, and is that done? Is that process done, or are you still in that process?
Still in the process. So that'll take a little bit of time, but not very long, like also not very long.
Okay.
But I just, I recognize that patience right now is a virtue. And so I'm just going to go along with the process, and songs will start to be released as the label feels it's appropriate to do so. Okay. And so we'll let Mr. Foster, who is very wise, and I feel like kind of like my fairy godfather right now, frankly, and who says very nice things to me and tells me to dream big. And I say, okay, I thank you. I'm going to believe you.
I love it. I love it. So do you go to Nashville a lot now, or are you recording here, or how is that working?
I've been there twice only. The first time for the open mic, and then when I returned to do the songwriting showcase. But actually, when this is airing, I will be in Nashville at this moment, and I will be singing a showcase this evening when this is all being announced, and today, and so it's being pre-recorded. But yeah, so I was recording here. I want to give a shout out to Kevin Racer at Rogue Wave Studio outside of Osage in Minnesota. Oh. He has a phenomenal studio with super high quality equipment, and I'm able to use the instrumentation that is sent from Nashville to sing. And then all of that is sent to the appropriate studio in Nashville to finish it all up and release and all of that. So they're Nashville recordings, and I just get to fortunately put my voice on them from Fargo. That might not always be the case, but today it is. And so today I'm going to enjoy that. I'm going to enjoy that.
I love that. So are you still singing locally? Like, are you out doing open mics and stuff here?
I sure am. I host an open mic at Dempsey's every Thursday night from 10 to 1, and I in Fargo here, and I hope it's the longest standing open mic in Fargo. And I'm hoping to continue to do that as long as possible and whenever possible. I love meeting new musicians. I love encouraging, especially young women, to, use their voice, their musical voices. And right, I just love everything about that experience. And I love being an encouragement. And when I was young and I wanted to be a singer, I was told, there's a lot of really talented people, blah, 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 blah. And there was also my discomfort because of some of my early trauma with the objectification that female bodies get. And to our LGBTQA brothers and sisters as well, that, you know, struggle to be able to be their authentic selves and use their musical voices as well. So I just feel like, shoot, Jody, I lost my train of thought on that one. Sorry. I don't remember.
You were saying about representing women who were being objectified and.
Yeah. And I didn't want to, I was uncomfortable. I really was. And I did not want to put myself out there in that way. I put myself out there in every other way. But I think music had always belonged to me. And I didn't want to give it away and have it be abused or mistreated by the world because it was mine.
Yeah.
And so being willing to give that up, the privacy of that gift and being able to use it on a wider scale was always a combination of a dream. But it was also a place of anxiety for me. And so I like to be able to be in that environment and say to these younger or newer or just starting out or colleague musicians that'll pop in sometimes and play. I like to be able to say, you know, being famous isn't the only reason why you share your gift. Or yeah, there's a lot of talented people out there, but not everybody has the courage to use their voice. And if you really want anything, it's worth working for, right? Because I've had this dream since I was 2 and was singing hop, 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 and whatever else I was singing, you know, and my dad said I used to make up little songs when I was little, baby to ride the car. And I would just, everything I did, I sang. It had a soundtrack.
I love it.
So anyway, yeah, so I want to stay in Fargo as long as I can. I'm always going to have my place. I'm always going to have my family. This is where my family is. And I can see myself traveling. My hope and what I'm trying to manifest by thinking and dwelling on is being able to be myself, just experience way bigger and cooler things so that I can bring back the excitement of that and share it and be a door for others to enter and have that experience as well. So I just think that the rising tide floats all of the boats. And I'd like to see Fargo become the next place known for the tremendous artistic talent we have here. I released a music video that was directed and filmed by a local filmmaker, Kyle Menwald, with the Keep You Company. That video, without advertising, got 32,000 views within the first couple of weeks. And then it which is certainly not a million, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
And it wasn't advertised. I mean, it was just, I released it and asked a few friends to send it out to or respond if they liked it. And it went like, well, I got contacted by a paper out of Portland, a music paper that put a magazine article together and some other things that we got a spotlight out of that from a up and coming band and some artists, you know, we got media off of that and ink off of that. And I think that was also when the High Plains Reader did a big article as well, because not just because the song or it was me or any of that, it was, this video was compelling. That came out of Fargo, like the talent we have in our region. And I just think that every community has that pocket of people, you know what I mean? Anyway.
No, that's great, because what I hear you saying in that is, in a way, bloom where you're planted, and then shine on the people who are in your space, because who knows what your light can encourage in others as well. Somebody's got to go first. You know, it might as well be you. It might as well be me. It might as well be the people listening here. And when we do that, who knows what our light can create and attract for others.
Well, that's right. And at the same time, don't be afraid to leave home to go and show your stuff outside, because I think there is some truth to the idea that a prophet is no prophet in their hometown. I mean, I really struggled, Jody. I really struggled. And there are times that I still struggle today to get, or up and until at least this conversation, things might change in the future. But I've been told some pretty cruddy things that I've been directly told that I'm too old. I've been directly said, you're not what we're trying to do. And these are people that I still have to work with today, because it's just what is available, right? But that is changing for me, thankfully. But let me tell you, if you know in your gut that you're meant to do something, just don't take no. My dad used to call it the 99 no's. Every no you get, imagine that you need 99 to get to that yes. So just instead of thinking, think, yay, that's one closer to 100.
Yep.
I'm nose in. Yes, we're no turning back now, right?
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate. I get some great. In fact, the Gina Powers band is going to be playing the side stage at the Red River Valley Fair on the 9th of July. I hope people will come out if they're within earshot.
Yes.
And for the night that Tim McGraw will be playing the main stage that night. And so we'll get to entertain Tim McGraw's crowd. And we're pretty excited about that.
Absolutely. Oh, that's so great. So with that said, would you mind entertaining our crowd right now? I know you have your guitar right next to you. Keep in mind, everybody, this is done over Zoom with no mixing or anything. This is just straight up Gina Powers. So please share with us, Gina, what are you going to sing for us?
Well, I'm going to sing something actually, Jody, that's not ever been released because it's a really special song. And I think it speaks to just what we've talked about when it comes to like having those fears about putting yourself out there. But at the same time, recognizing that the human lifespan is a human lifespan. So that's kind of the state of mind I was in when I wrote this song. It's called All I Ever Wanted. Hopefully I can remember it.
This is live. This is the beauty of live.
Right.
Yeah.
You never happen. The cat might jump on the computer and
Perfect.
We'll give it a try. Time keeps knocking on my door. I don't even want to answer no more. And I'm staring through the looking glass, wondering what it takes to make it last. With this broken record spinning inside my head, says, what if I got all I ever wanted and realized it wasn't what I wanted at all? Not like I could go back, just press restart and catch myself before the fall, where I break, then I bend, then I bleed, then I mend, then I get left in the dust, and I get stuck in my head. Thank God all I ever wanted, but then faces become one insane, and I guess that's just the name of the game. Gotta fight from my head to my toes, that's lit up with so many demons nobody knows. Scared of this desire burning inside my soul. 'Cause what if I got all I ever wanted, then realized it wasn't what I wanted at all? Not like I could go back, just press restart and catch myself before the fall, where I break, then I bend, then I bleed and I mend, I get left in the dust and then stuck in my head. I got all I ever wanted, but then but there.
Wow. 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 That's beautiful, Gina. It's perfect. It's a perfect way to wrap up this conversation.
Thank
Oh,
you, Jo.
thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you for sharing that. And
Thank you.
huge. Wait. We're talking over each other. I can't do that. I don't like that about Zoom. So I want to say to you, thank you so much. And huge congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Jody. I appreciate it. Thanks for receiving the music. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to share. And yeah, whatever that dream is you were dreaming of when you were 7 and 10, I don't know, be a spaceman. I don't know, whatever it is, figure out a way to do that, because that's what you were put here to be.
Yeah. Oh, Gina, if the people wanted to find you and follow you, how would they do that?
Well, they can find me on Facebook under Gina Powers. You'll know it's me because there's musical stuff. There are some other Gina Powerses, but it does say music. It refers to Gina Powers music. And then they can find the full band on the Gina Powers band online, on anywhere. And any of our music that's been released can be found on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, all those places, all those fun streams. Yeah.
And so when this will be released on the 29th, which is Wednesday, and on this day, it will be released around 6 a.m. This will be an amazing day for you. You will be somewhere else. If you're listening to this later, just know that we are in preparation for this huge announcement that Gina will be making of her new record label. Tell us again what the record label is.
Humont International.
And that is going to propel her in ways we can't even predict yet. But we're learning from this conversation that it's important to be in the moment and be present wherever you are, because everything is available if you just remember and reach back into your heart and allow it.
That's right. That's right.
So thank you, Gina. This has been a joy for me. I appreciate you.
Very much likewise. Thanks, Jody.
You bet.